All right, here we are. It looks like we're recording. We've never done this before, so hopefully it's working. But anyway, here we are. Spuddies, welcome to. It's a long time. I did one episode of Super Spuddies with Valerie Roush, and this is the second episode. But that first one was like in the beginning of February this year, so it's like 8 months since I did a Super Spuddies episode. But anyway, here we are. Super Spuddies episode 2. Charles LaRosa. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Charles LaRosa. Charles has done really well on his own Spud Fit Challenge, and we're going to hear more from Charles. But anyway, this is just something I wanted to do where we talk to other people who have done their own Spud Fit Challenge and done really well, and let's hear from other people instead of just me talking all the time. Let's see how other people are going on this. So Charles has had a great time. He's even got his own wellness group, which is, can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I called it Easy Wellness Group. And we do wellness, health, and weight loss coaching. And yeah, I just wanted to help share our experiences with people and let them know that they can do it too.
All right, cool. And so is that something new for you, or?
Yeah, it's something relatively new. I had been contemplating getting into coaching for the last couple of years. And with the success that I had on the Spud Fit Challenge, it really inspired me to dive in and study coaching. And, I came up with the name and I bought the domain name. And, I kind of just rolled into it over the last 4 or 5 months. I just finished a business course, and it helped me set up the website and offer some products. So yeah, I'm kind of new at it, but I'm
cool.
I'm a bartender. I'm always the guy that people talk to.
Yeah. Well, you give me shivers down my spine that maybe I've played some sort of small part in helping you go in this new direction, but I think we're probably jumping the gun a little bit here. We've sort of jumped straight to the end of the story, haven't we? So let's go back to the start. So can you tell us a little bit about what your life was like before the Spud Fit Challenge? How did you come to the point in your life where you felt, that potatoes only Spud Fit Challenge, that sounds like a good idea, I think you most of the time you've got to get to some sort of low point to start thinking that that's a good idea. So can you tell us a little bit about what was going on in your life?
Sure. Well, I was always an overweight person, so it was always a challenge for me. And I always hated the idea of a diet. Growing up in an Italian home, food was central to our culture. And in 2008, November 2008, I got real serious about losing weight, but I still had the ups and downs, and I hung in there for years, and I was kind of at a low point at the end of 2016. After 8 years, I had been up and down. I was afraid to get on the scale because I had, let myself go. I was concentrating on a different business that we were trying, and so I knew that I had to really refocus, where I was going with it. So the short of it and the long of it is, I was watching Saturday Night Live with my daughter one Saturday night, and the newscast where they do the fake news, they were talking about a guy from Australia who ate nothing but potatoes in 2016 and lost 117 pounds and died.
Yeah.
So I was like, no way, this guy died? Come on. So I Googled it.
Was really from that clip. I can't believe it was from that clip.
From that little, they say, thin threads tie us all together.
Yeah.
So I Googled you. It was 2-3 weeks before the holidays. I read up on your website. I watched your videos. I read up more on potatoes. And I was like, you know what? Maybe this is the thing for me, because you addressed not only diet, but you addressed food addiction. And that was a theme from years ago that I didn't know how to address through food.
Yeah.
I felt I was addicted, but I know you just can't stop eating, but it seemed like you had the hack for that, like potatoes. And I was like, wow, I got to look this up, So I told my wife, I said, I'm going to do this potato thing in the new year. And let's see where it goes.
Yeah, cool. That's so cool. I remember watching that clip myself, the Saturday Night Live thing, and that was a really surreal moment for me, looking at what the hell, I'm on Saturday Night Live? How the hell did this happen?
That's a surreal moment right
there. And they said I died and whatever. That was a joke, and that was really cool. And that was like, just when I thought the year couldn't get any crazier, suddenly I was on Saturday Night Live. Like, that was the last thing. But anyway, obviously, I wonder if there's I never contemplated that little comedy clip basically making fun of me would have actually contributed to somebody making a change. So, yeah, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And, back to something else you said, though, was about, I hear from a lot of people that tell me about, I really want to do this, but I can't because family, our family relates to each other through food, and we show love through food. And I especially, and probably no surprise to you, but I hear that most of all, not just from Italians, but most of all from Italian people, mm-hmm. Italian families. It seems to be a really big theme in Italian culture, that everything you do seems to obviously this is not true for everyone. I don't want to generalize and stereotype, but from the messages I get from people, it seems to be a huge part of Italian culture to everything revolves around food, and every time you get together or do anything, it revolves around food. And like I said, it's not just Italians. This was probably my family as well growing up was the same, but and we're not Italian, but yeah, can you tell us a little bit more about? Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Like, how does that influence your life when you're growing up in a big Italian family? And that's,
one thing that I came to realize was that food was like the panacea for everything. It was like, oh, you're upset, eat this. Or, oh, hey, we're happy. Let's eat this. Somebody died. We're going to eat this. Everything is let's eat.
Yeah.
So it's very food centered. And not just to say certain type of food, it's meal or, feast centered. So I realized that I was taught in an indirect way to deal with things by eating, and I still catch myself, and sometimes I catch myself and I don't eat. Sometimes I catch myself and I do, and I'm just like, screw it. But, that's where I'm at right now. I work on myself all the time. I work on this. So, there's a couple of factors that, you have to really dive deep into in order to kind of set things right in your own head. Because I've been telling people for a long time, weight loss, it takes place between the ears. It's not only, there's so much rumor and mystique we have to dispel out there in the world about diet and weight loss, that, we can only do it one person at a time, or, try and get a message out there that, food is just as addictive as a substance as any other drug out there.
Yeah. Yeah, that emotional connection that you mentioned about, you commiserate with food and you celebrate with food, and basically, you just sit down and watch a game, and you do that with food too. You just everything with food, and I knew that before I started the Spud Fit Challenge, but I didn't really know the extent of it until I was in the Spud Fit Challenge and stuck with potatoes only, and then I started going, oh, holy crap, this is like every moment of the day I'm thinking about food, and I didn't realize how big it was, and like how much my life centered on it, and how little coping mechanisms I had to deal with the emotional challenges of life if I couldn't use food. It was like if you have a bad day and you get home and you can't eat ice cream, what the hell do you do?
Yeah.
So how did you deal with those challenges? How, when you had a bad day and you couldn't turn to food to help you through it, what were there any strategies that you came up with?
Well, I had started meditating about a year and a half ago. So it was about 5 months into meditation, 6 months in, when when I did the challenge, when I started the challenge. So I think I had a lot of that, the wave of that helping me. It was going in my favor. So
Yeah.
I learned how to deal with things and stress and everything. My stress level was down a little bit, and my situation just felt like it was getting better and better. So that's mainly how I dealt with it. And with your advice, like whenever you're hungry or you want to cheat, eat some potatoes first, and then have the chocolate cake if you want it. And if I was hungry or I did need to stress eat, I would have some potato, and then I would realize, help me realize, like, oh wait, I'm not really that hungry. I'm just eating out of habit and stress and dealing with emotion. So I can't say that I stopped doing it, but I think I started replacing dealing with stress with the meditation, with some exercise, and just learning how to cope.
Yeah.
In my head.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I think that you talk about eating, when you're feeling stressed, first eat potatoes before you eat something else. And I think it's really interesting the way that changes things, because, you start eating potatoes and you don't get that instant hit, that, the dopamine
That
hit.
enjoyment.
And then when you don't get that hit, you start thinking, it makes you realize that, hang on, I'm not eating because I'm not eating here because I need to. I'm eating here because, I'm trying to sort out some emotional thing and it doesn't work. So I'm going to have to come up with some sort of other idea. So, yeah, it's I love the meditation that you mentioned. I'm a what do you call it? I'm an aspiring meditator. That's something that, that's the next frontier for me, is to try to get better into I do meditate, and I do have a couple of specific meditations that I do for emotional eating, but I don't have a regular meditation. Practice. Yeah, I've tried and failed many times at that. So
it's okay.
Yeah.
The more you try and fail, the closer you are to, just doing it.
Yeah.
I went on and off. I think it was December 2015. I got the app on my phone, and I think I did like 2 days in December, and a couple days in January, and it wasn't until May when I really started trying to do it every day.
Yeah.
And it's something that I've come to really love. So, when I do skip it, I feel it, or when I don't do it for a couple of days, whatever, I correct myself and I really get back on track with it.
Cool.
And that's, it's great. I really highly recommend it to anyone, because it is a habit of highly successful people. So if you want to be highly successful at anything, I think that it's a great, accessible, practice to have that is only going to stack the deck in your favor.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I agree with everything. I've just got to make it happen. That's all. Yeah.
Let me get down off my soapbox now.
Yeah. No, that's good. It's good. And we've all got, it shows that, we've got different ways to do things. For me, my coping mechanisms were more about, I say to lots of people now that when you're feeling stressed or down or whatever kinds of emotions, and you don't need to eat something interesting to help you with your emotions. You need to do something interesting. So for you, that's meditation. For me, it was a multiple things. It could have been I'd go and play with my boy. He loves wrestling, so we'd go and have a wrestle for a while, and you can't wrestle with a toddler and feel sad at the same time. It's just not possible.
Yeah, no, it's impossible.
Or I'd go for a run, or I'd, go and make a joke with my wife or something like that. And yeah, just lots of lifting. But yeah. And I wanted to try to keep this a little bit short so that these little videos can be accessible for lots of people to be able to watch start to finish and get everything down for 2 hours and watch it. So we'll finish up in a sec, but I wanted to ask you how life's like now and how things have changed since you started your Spud Fit Challenge.
Wow. I just feel like more comfortable in my body. I feel very confident that I did this, and I know I can do it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do it again very soon. I feel like a different person. Like I feel like I started this business, and I wanna help people realize that they have the power within themselves. Because, like you said, if I did it, you could do it. So I'm trying to lead by example, and that's basically how my life is different. It's empowered me.
Yeah.
So I owe it a lot, and I owe you a lot.
Yeah. Thank you. And feel free.
Saturday Night Live.
You don't have to answer this. I don't want to make you uncomfortable, but I know a lot of people are going to want to know. Do you have any numbers that you can or would like to share regarding
Sure.
changes? Or?
Yeah. When I started in 2008, I was 315 pounds. I got down to 232, and then when I started the potato diet at the beginning of this year, I was 270. And I got down to 215, so that was my 100 mark.
All right.
So I lost 5 pounds this year on potatoes.
All right. Nice.
I'm down 100 pounds, and I feel great. And I want to lose like 30, 40 more pounds, really, honestly, for my frame. But yeah, and I think that's where I'll be, kind of done.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. And I also love that you said that, if you can do it, anyone can do it. And I say the same thing because, I often get people saying, oh, it's great that you did that, but I never could. And I couldn't. I've lost count of how many times, a long time ago, I've lost count of how many times people have said, yeah, it's really good that you were able to do that with potatoes, but there's no way I could. And I always reply that, yeah, of course you could. If I can do it, then, I was huge and obese just like so many other people are. I didn't get there because I'm an amazing person with an amazing willpower. I got there the same way everyone else does. And I, so if I can turn things around, then so can you. And you're proof of that as well. And, I really think if you want to do it and you are prepared to put in the effort, because this is not just a simple, easy, just eat potatoes and everything will be fine. It takes work. And the thing is, if you're willing to put in the internal work that needs to be done, then you can do this. Anyone can do it. Of course you can.
Absolutely.
It takes effort, just like any major change.
Yeah. Just to quote, Tony Robbins, if you want to change your life, you have to take radical action. Yeah. And, I think this is pretty much as radical as you can get as far as diet, Yeah. It's a change in your behavior and your emotional state. And it's, you gotta make a commitment. It's really not about willpower. It's about the commitment.
Yeah.
And it's worth it. It was worth it.
Yeah, it doesn't require willpower, or it does a certain extent, I guess, but to like you said, when you're feeling like you want to eat chocolate cake, to just say, yeah, I'll have the chocolate cake, but first I'm going to eat a plate full of potatoes. That doesn't seem like a huge willpower challenge to me. It's just, okay, I'm just going to eat some potatoes and then I'll eat chocolate cake. And most of the time, for me, never, I ate the chocolate cake. So, that's it's a simple thing. But it does require work, though. But anyway, and I also want to point out that, this conversation has made me realize even more about the effect that individuals can have just by, so I've done something where I focused on myself and changed the way I live. and it's obviously I've played a small part in helping you to change your life, but not only that, now you've created your own or business organization where now you're going on to help other people yourself. So then, there's an indirect sort of effect, a knock-on effect, a snowball effect where, and no doubt you're going to do the same thing. You're going to help someone who's then going to go and help someone else, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So, I guess don't underestimate the effect that your own personal changes that you can make can carry out into the world.
Yeah, it's powerful.
Yeah, so thanks for showing me that as well. This has been cool.
My pleasure. Anytime.
So the last thing I'm going to say is if anyone out there watching is inspired by Charles and wants to take some action, then very soon we're coming to the end of the year, and anyone who's been following me knows that I like a cheesy. I don't eat cheese anymore, but I like a cheesy name for a challenge. So, so we started with Spudtember, then we went on to October. Then we went on to Yes-Vember. Then we went on to December, and I yesterday declared that the month of January next year is no longer called January; it's called Canuary.
Nice.
All right, so
awesome.
Like we've just been talking about, if I can do it, then you can do, and you can do it in Canuary. So get involved, everyone. Go to spudfit.com if you want to find out more about the SpudFit Challenge, or go to
easywellnessgroup.com.
All right, and I'll put that link somewhere. Thank you. I'll make sure you can find the link. And anyway, thank you very much, Charles. And
thank you.
I hope everyone gets in contact with Charles and go to the website and follow him on socials and do all of those sorts of things. And thanks for helping to inspire and change the world, mate.
Thank you. You too. Thank you, Andrew.
All right, cheers. Spud up.
Cheers.